Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is the
Dr. Doreen is an expert in autism.
Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh.
Dr. Doreen Granpeesheh is a visionary in the field of autism. Now you can ask her questions on Ask Dr. Doreen.
What do you learn from ABC data as a BCBA?
Okay, so actually, I wanted to actually do exactly what you mentioned, which I think is perfect, because for every one of the parents on here or viewers on here, when you see a challenging behavior, you can't assume that it is just a bad behavior and that we need to get rid of it. It has a purpose. Right before I lost my chat feed on here, so I apologize because I can't see any of your questions anymore. But I saw a parent who wrote that her son screams when they hear loud on the TV, something loud on TV. So another function of a behavior, another reason that I had forgotten to say could be just simple imitation. Right? It could be communication, imitation, all these different things. It is super important always to try to do what Shannon suggested, which is figure out what that challenging behavior is trying to get across. I'll simplify it for all of you and you can do this exercise that Shannon suggested, but it's very, very simple. When you think of behavior, any behavior, good or bad, all of us, we do what we do for two reasons alone. One is to gain access to something, and one is to avoid something. That's it. That is, human behavior is governed by those two things, gaining access to something or avoiding something. Now, the things that we want to avoid are all kinds of things, right? And for our kids, just to keep it simple, it could be you want to avoid punishment. You want to avoid the anger of your parent. You want to avoid an environment that is overly stimulating. You want to avoid a food you don't like. You want to avoid stopping doing something you like to do. You want to avoid all these types of things that our kids want to avoid, right? What do you want to gain access to? You want to gain access to things you like. You want to gain access to more of the show you're watching. Gain access to your favorite sweets, gain access to running around outside, whatever it is. So you always need to figure out that particular behavior. What is it trying to avoid or gain access to? And when you know that, then the treatment becomes, the way to deal with it becomes very simple. Often we want to give our kids access to the things they want, and we want to help them avoid the things they want to avoid if they ask for it appropriately. And so that's the key to it. It's just figuring out what it is they're trying to communicate and giving them a better way to communicate it.
Okay, so another way to look at it. But if you'll tell us some of the more circumstances, it will, because for each thing, if you know what it is that they wanted, there's different interventions that science have proven to be effective. That's the key, is that you got to know what you're looking at first, and then science has already told us a way to intervene.
And and to keep it real simple and even non-scientific, it's the same thing. If you figure out a child is tantruming to get attention, because they're trying to get access to attention, that's one of the things that we want to gain access to, then don't give them attention, because the way they just communicated it by tantrum is not something you want to increase. You don't want to reward that behavior, right? You give attention when they do something appropriate, not when they do something inappropriate. And that's the same thing. I mean, not to call it appropriate or inappropriate, but challenging or not challenging. So if you attend every time a child screams, the screaming worked. It worked. It got your attention. So, and if you don't attend when they scream, but instead you attend when they're quiet, then being quiet will increase. So it's really kind of that simple in terms of ABA, but it's a lot more complicated when you do it in real life. Because often, like when a child screams, as an example, they're not doing it for one reason or another, they're doing it for multiple reasons. That's when it starts to get confusing for our parents.
Yes.